All right, I think I'm welcoming you to the coaching session, today's coaching Q&A session with MINDTRX. I'm Wendy Greer with Learning Strategies and MINDTRX. I'm a coach here, and I do a lot of coaching of the Paraliminals. I've been coaching them for over 20 years. So I was going to field the questions that came in today and then lead in with a brief discussion about motivation. Motivation has been really intriguing to me from the get-go, as I've often been puzzled by how some people can go through incredibly challenging situations and they just dust themselves off and rise from the ashes. And other people have things happen that seem relatively innocuous and they just can't get up and get moving again. It's always puzzled me. And I've got some insights in a very odd way. Motivation is defined as the reason or reasons one has for acting or doing a behavior in a particular way, or acting in a particular way. And I happened to come across a Deepak Chopra article. I followed him for many, many years. And it was about, he had gone to a seminar with a series of friends, and it was a weekend seminar, very profound. And the last day they were walking down the sidewalk and they were just discussing, and his friends were just raving about this event, and he just didn't have much to say. And they said, "Weren't you motivated?" And he looked at them and he said, "No." And they go, "What?" And he goes, "No, actually, I was inspired." And I think that's a huge distinction, that a motivation, if it becomes an internal circumstance, then it's self-motivated. Motivation from outside is like you need somebody prodding you. It's like that phenomenon where people go to a seminar and then a couple weeks later they've already relinquished the state they were in. They're no longer doing the exercises. The short timers at the gym, beginning of the year, where there's, you can't get a machine you want, and then within a couple weeks that they're drifting away. So that, I think that probably explains the variations in the intensity and duration of a motivated state. Is it an external motivation or is it internally generated? One of the things I noticed pretty early on in my career here at Learning Strategies and with MINDTRX is that when people said they weren't getting the results they wanted from the Paraliminals they were using, there was often two things happening. One was they'd send me their goal and it was incredibly academic. It was anybody walking down the street, it could have belonged to them. There was no feeling connected to it. There was no emotion. It wasn't like they were invested in it. It was just sort of a detached statement of what they wanted to have. The other factor, which doesn't necessarily play into motivation, but they would often say, "I will do, I will have, I'm going to have." So it put it in the future. So it wasn't here now, it was out there somewhere. So this whole concept of an academic goal is not going to be, it's not going to be a motivating factor as much as it does if you're connected to it. One of the people that really expresses this very articulately is Joe Vitale. He wrote a book called The Attractor Factor, and he talked about a phenomenon called Nevilleizing your goal. And Neville was a author, quite a mystic. He was very tuned into the law of attraction, and was very into self-motivation in a very deep sense, from the soul and the heart, rather than a mental commitment. It was really the expression he used in many of his books. When he signed a book, he would say, "Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled." And so that assuming the feeling really helps you to connect to the goal, to become very deeply motivated and to stay engaged. It also brings in, because you're acting as if it's already here, it can bring in the whole concept of gratitude. Because when you're expressing gratitude for a situation, even if it isn't here yet, you're tapping into two universal laws. One is you get more of what you focus on, and the other is like attracts like. So what you're doing then, if you're expressing gratitude, is you're tuning into those two, and you're also, there's another interesting phenomenon that I understood when we did our courses with Brian Osborne. He did our aura seeing course and our 4 elements manifestation. If there's a gap between what you're giving gratitude for and where you're at now, your mind and your other than conscious mind want to fill that gap. It's like, "Oh, she thinks it's here. We better get hot. We need to get busy. We need to get going on this." So it steps up to the plate and starts really kicking it into high gear. Before I get onto the Paraliminals I recommend for this, I'd like you to consider that, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. But I want to give you an exercise from Jack Canfield that I find is so profound. It's one of the ones I share a lot with people who are feeling sort of adrift, or they can't stay on track, they can't stay disciplined. It's called a life purpose exercise. It's in our Effortless Success course. If you have that course, it's on pages 77 through 78 of the manual. It's also in his Success Principles book, which is a really good book. Jack is just amazing at discerning what people do well and borrowing from them. But basically, what you do for the life purpose exercise is you tune in to those qualities that you think are your most distinctive, your most dynamic, that make you feel alive, those traits and qualities that when you express them, you feel like you're in the flow. And another good component of this is ask your friends, ask people you know what they would say is your strong point. What do you do well? What are you passionate about? What do they pick up from you? Because often you'll get insights from friends of things that you don't even recognize you're doing, but that are really contributing to your overall sense of a life purpose, of some people call this your path or your mission or an umbrella goal. The beauty of this exercise is once you've tuned in to those traits, you pick a couple that you think are the most significant, that most clearly define who you are and why you might be here, and you decide how you're going to express those in the world. If you were living those qualities and those skill sets, how would you be projecting yourself on the world? What would you be doing? And what would it look like? What would it feel like? What would it sound like? This whole concept of an umbrella goal is just awesome for motivation, because it keeps you, if you have, say you wanted to express beauty and compassion. So if you're living that goal, beauty and compassion, in every aspect of your life, you are going to be motivated because you're fulfilling what you think you believe you're here to do and what you do well. And one of the one of the stories I love to tell is that I know I've mentioned this before on one of the other coaching sessions, but Jack had a guy in his Success Principles course. It was a weekend course, who was a bus driver, and he always wanted to be a comedian. He just loved to connect with people. He loved to make them laugh. And when he did this exercise, he recognized how important that was. And then when he thought about how that might express in the world, he recognized that he had an incredible opportunity. He had a captive audience every single day. He drove for some big municipal area, and he started cracking jokes on the bus, and it got to the point where people would pass up the other buses and wait for his bus because they could start and finish their day laughing. And I just think that is such an awesome story, because that really tells you how you just never know when you're going to touch a life. And the context doesn't have to be standing on a stage in an improv. It can be on a public bus driving it. So the Paraliminals I would want to feature for this are, there is a whole list of them in the Paraliminal Accelerator for motivation. There's Belief, Fresh Start, New Action Generator, Peak Performance, Automatic Pilot, Get Around to It, Self-Esteem Supercharger, Focus and Concentration, Simplicity, You Deserve It, Self-Discipline. So all of those would be wonderful. And in fact, this answers one of the questions that came in. When you're at a loss on what Paraliminal to use, in the Accelerator, there is a document called Recommended Listening by Topic. And so for M, there's meaning and purpose, there's memory, there's motivation. For N, there's negative people, negative thinking, unproductive thoughts, negativity and cynicism, not knowing what to do. So that's a great tool if you're at a loss on what Paraliminal to use. So the ones I would choose for most specifically, just distilling that list for motivation, would be Belief and Finding Treasure. These are both incredibly good for really figuring out what matters to you, what might be hanging you up, what your yes buts are. And they're a great reminder that you have the resources you need. If you're called to do something, you have the resources. You've just forgotten what you've done with them. And that's a lot of what I do here. I help people remember where they've hidden their treasures, where they've hidden their skills, their qualities, their traits that make them distinctive and special. So those two are so good for they stand behind that phenomenon. If you think you can, you think you can't, you're going to be right. So what do you believe? What do you think? What is your treasure? And why aren't you living that? What would you need to do to live that treasure? New Action Generator is just awesome. New Action is make choices, take action, and succeed. New Action Generator is great. Anytime you feel stuck and feel like you're sort of wallowing in the same circumstance over and over, and you keep doing the same thing and it's not serving you, New action generator is wonderful. Peak performance, fire up your performance for superior results. Tom McCarthy, we did that one with. He's a peak performance coach, and his specialty is helping people be in the zone when they need to be in the zone. And if you find you're lacking motivation, peak performance might be the one that would jog that for you. I like Success Built to Last. I think it is one of the more underutilized paraliminals we have, because what you're going to be successful at is what you're passionate about. And so Success Built to Last helps you tune into that passion, and that will keep you motivated. So that's another good one. And the go-to that I think is so important right now, so many people are overwhelmed, letting go. If you don't have the space for the new, you don't have anywhere to fit it in. So you're going to have a challenge trying to bring in the new, because there's just no landing space for it. There's nowhere for it to be delivered. So letting go can be huge, along with fresh start. That would be another one I would take a look at. All right, we had a plethora of questions this week. Quite a few of them have to do with the technology. So I wanted to recommend that for those, you email customer service at MINDTRX, MINDTRX.com, because we have some whiz bangs there who will be able to help you with SLEEPTRX, downloading issues where the player isn't working or it's not working as you think it would. So any of those, send those to the customer service at MINDTRX.com. The ones that are specific to coaching, the first one is somebody who says, I'd like to know the best NLP technique for gaining discipline. And yes, I listen to the Discipline Paraliminal. What I'm going to suggest, if you want a specific NLP technique, email coach at MINDTRX, MINDTRX.com. I monitor that email account. I'm certified in NLP and hypnotherapy. Because I use paraliminals so much and there's such a sublime use of those techniques, I very seldom go to specific techniques, because I use what Paul uses in the paraliminals, but I'd be happy to look through my notes. But that being said, this is Revito. I would take a look. If you find that you are unable to stay on track, a couple things I would look at. Values alignment. Is what you want to do aligned with what you truly value? Because often when people find they don't have a discipline, the self-discipline paraliminal, the change work in there helps you to discern where you're unaligned, where what you're trying to do has nothing to do with who and what you are and why you're here. And this may be playing into motivation. Again, these two are very linked, so that might help you to shift that perspective. Are you so overwhelmed you don't have space for anything else? Because that's a very common circumstance right now. I mean, the amount of data we have coming at us, that, you know, the crazy world we're living in, there are so many moving parts. So you may just plain and simply not have the space. Again, the letting go that I just mentioned. If you're feeling totally overwhelmed, it might be simplicity. It might be overcoming overwhelm. So pay attention to why you feel you're not disciplined. And as I said, email the coach at mindtrx.com if you wanted some help with a specific technique. But as I say, they're woven so incredibly well into the paraliminals that you're probably going to get the full benefit just picking out the paraliminals that are most pertinent based on the title and then the subtitle for each one. I answered the question about the recommended listening by topic. How do the SLEEPTRX really work? SLEEPTRX are an amazing phenomenon. You can loop the SLEEPTRX all night long, and you can do the change work all night. What happens when you do that, when you're sleeping, your other than conscious mind comes to the forefront, your conscious mind steps back. What often happens for people that use the SLEEPTRX regularly is that they'll get incredible insights during their dream state, and that will help shift what's going on in your outer life, your normal waking state. One thing that I would like to mention is keep a dream journal next to the bed. Sometimes it's hard to remember the dream when you wake up. So if you can grab a tendril, even a small piece of the dream, if you write it down at night, you know, I was dreaming about floating on a cloud above the city of New York, whatever it was, write that down, because often just having that little snippet will help you to pull the rest of the dream back. Also pay attention throughout the day, because sometimes you'll see something or hear something that will jog your memory on the dream. Grab it, and then that night get everything together and you'll probably see the symbolism. You need to remember that with paraliminals, it's not always a linear process. Often it's a symbolic insight that will be incredibly profound. So if you're going to use SLEEPTRX, that would be the way to go. I prefer to use a single sleep track. I think I get better impact that way. Some people will choose paraliminals that are related and use 3 or 4 different sleep tracks during the night. And I've had one gentleman that I know of that looped, I think he said it was 20 of them all night long, got phenomenal results. I think that would be a little discombobulating for me, but and I'm not tempted to try it because I get such profound results in, with either a single one or a few that are related. But that's why they work and how they work, and they are amazing. One I wanted to research and I haven't had a chance is, where's the best place to get questions answered? Somebody says they put a question on Facebook and they didn't get a response. I apologize, because what we try to do with Facebook is let people have conversations with each other. But if there's something either that isn't getting answered, or we feel like there's some insights that, those of us that use the Paraliminals here regularly, and, I would be one of those, we dive in and supply an answer. So I apologize that you didn't get a response. But again, the coach at MINDTRX, MINDTRX.com. Somebody's asking for a basic primer on the Paraliminals, and I've covered this in some of the other coaching Q&As. But one of the things I'd like to mention is that often people go hog wild when they get the Paraliminals, and they're using, a half dozen a day. I think you can overuse Paraliminals, and I think what's happening is, if you find you're sitting down to listen, and you're either feeling anxious, you're agitated, you're angry, you're sort of ticked off that you can't believe you're sitting down to do this again, you're probably overusing. So what I would do is back it down a bit, because you need to give the change work time to settle in. And as I said, it's not a linear progression. So sometimes, there'll be quite a bit of progress, and then you'll feel like a plateau before the next leap forward. So pay attention to your results. The challenge with coaching Paraliminals is there's no cookie cutter answers. So for some people, a single Paraliminal used consistently will be good. For others, it's a single Paraliminal used once or twice. If it's a circumstance that's persistent, then you're probably going to use them regularly. If it's a circumstance where a particular person gets under your skin, then if you know you have to be at a family gathering where Uncle Joe is going to be a pain in the butt, then do positive relationships a couple days before, the positive relationships the day of, and then possibly the day after, or letting go if it got out of hand. So you need to customize your listening to what's going on in your life, and we're happy to help you with that. So if there is any tweaking that needs to happen, we're happy to follow through on that. I believe that is the basics of what I was asked. Which Paraliminals to use? Go to the recommended listening by topic. And yes, I think that covers what we needed to address today. So it was great speaking with you. I'd like to leave you with a couple of profound thoughts that reinforce what we've been talking about. These two I thought were so incredible because they're so similar. We are not victims of the world we are victims of the way we see the world. That's Shirley MacLaine. And that gets back to what I spoke about at the beginning with the motivation. The second one is change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. That's Wayne Dyer. So again, it's the way you look at things, the interior response to what's going on, and the conviction from the inside of assuming the wish is fulfilled. And then what does that feel like? Jack Canfield's always said, it's not the stuff we want, it's the way it makes us feel. So tune into what that inner feeling would be of having it, and build that into your goal, because that is an internal motivation that will serve you well. That umbrella goal that Jack Canfield creates with the life purpose exercise is great. And one last thought from Neville Goddard. This is from his book, The Power of Awareness. You know a thing mentally by looking at it from the outside, by comparing it with other things and analyzing and defining it. Whereas you can know a thing spiritually only by becoming it. You must be the thing itself and not merely talk about it or look at it. And I think that just perfectly sums up what we've talked about, and it brings it full circle, that it's the knowing it in your heart and soul. It's not knowing it mentally and having a mental, written, logical, practical goal. It's, I feel this way, this has happened, I am so thrilled this is happening in my life, and I continue, and I will always be doing this, and this is so fulfilling and so exciting and so awe-inspiring, and this is where I am. And that's your potential. So we want you to live up to that, and we're here to help you do it. So you take care. Lots of love to you from all of us here at Learning Strategies and MINDTRX. and we'll connect again next month. Take care.